Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Sage 50 Cloud Pastel Accounting topic webinar. My name is Joanne Barnard, and I will be the panelist and host for this session. So guys, today what we're going to be discussing is the reset and Stockfix utility and when you would use those utilities and how to use them. Guys, if at any point the sound disappears or the screen freezes, please press F5 or Control F5 on your keyboard to see if that refreshes it. If that does not work, please let me know so I can obviously check if it's not an issue on my side, and then we can take it from there. You may need to exit and enter again, but I can always let you know. But please use the question icon, little question mark in a speech bubble, to communicate with me because you are all muted on entry. Therefore, I cannot hear you, so the only way to communicate with me is to use the question icon. Guys, that being said, let's jump into our topic for today and find out what these utilities are. So basically, we have a certain number of utilities that come with Pastel, and we use these utilities to fix certain errors that happen within the system. Some can be found when processing, others can happen when you actually try to access Pastel. And if you are running a build lower than version 14, I think it's 14.1.4, you may not see these things in the Pastel or Express folder. But guys, from 14.1.4 up, if you open the Pastel root folder, which is either Pastel 19 or, for example, maybe Express 19, this is called a root folder. So whatever folder you need to go into before you get to your companies. And what we are looking for is we are looking for the files within the root folder called reset and Stockfix. So these would be exe files. So we're looking for Stockfix and reset. Now, some of you may have noticed there's a fixes. Guys, in order to use the fixes, you actually need training. I myself do not understand how all the fixes work. Therefore, I'm not going to be discussing fixes. This is something that you would need to get training on in order to be able to use that utility. This is also why if you open it normally, and mine may not do this, unfortunately not, but normally you have to register it. However, if you run the Stockfix or the reset utility, this should hopefully no longer require a registration, and you should just be able to open the utility and use it. Now, guys, the first thing that I want to talk about is the reset utility, because this is normally if you want to fix things like the registry, the registration, or the companies, as well as resetting the last use date. So when you open Pastel, it looks at specific files in order to generate information. Those files are normally found within the custom registration folder. And in this folder, you've got something called registration, company parts, and company.dat. And this holds the information with regards to your registration as well as the company paths themselves. This also holds when you last access Pastel. Now, if we look at the system date, sometimes your system date can be inaccurate. If this is inaccurate, what may happen is you fix your system date, but the date was, let's say, in the future originally. If you then try to open Pastel, you're going to be told Pastel was last accessed on the 30th of August 2022. So it's basically going, well, hey, you accessed this like in the future. You can't now try to access it on the 10th of August. When that happens, guys, you need to close Pastel and click Reset Last Use Date. Basically, what this will do is this will reset when it was last accessed, and you can now open Pastel on the correct date, because obviously, depending on certain things that you run in Pastel, the date is important. If we're using point of sale uses your system date, not the date that you enter like you would when processing in Pastel. So if you are doing that, you know, you want to make sure that your point of sale dates are correct. Otherwise, the client's going to come in say on the 18th of August and say, hey, I bought this last week and I need to return it, and you're looking for a sale that according to your system happened on the 30th of August, if they don't have that invoice number, and that can be really confusing to try to find that. So if you're using point of sale, make sure your system date is correct. If you're using bank manager, you need your system date to be correct. It is very important, but sometimes it happens that it's not. If it's in the future, you need to reset the last use date. Then guys, sometimes when you open a company or when you open Pastel, you may actually get an error. So either you open Pastel and it immediately comes up with an error, or you go file open, and while trying to populate the open a company screen, it doesn't populate this screen. Instead, it throws out an error. This could be because you ticked open last used company, in which case what the system does is it tries to open the last used company automatically, and it will just generate the password. So what will come up is normally the following. Now, on occasion, there might be a problem actually accessing the demo, so or the last used company. The last used company might actually have the error. So when we choose to launch Pastel, sorry guys, I'm just going to my Pastel again. And we launch it, instead of you having to go file open, it just generates an error, a runtime error 53 or a status 161, whatever it is. Something may happen, a runtime error 5, and that could be directly linked either to the company or it could be linked to the registration. So guys, I'm just going to quickly switch my screens because it all opened on the wrong screen. My apologies. But basically, as you can see, it just went to ask for the password directly. Now, before you get to the stage, it might generate runtime error 62, runtime error 53, runtime error 5. Those are normally the ones where it's specific to a company. And you will have a problem actually accessing your company or accessing your Pastel. Now, if it is in fact a company or registration issue, that is where running that reset again can in fact be helpful, because as you could see in that, you can reset the companies, reset registration, reset the registry. Now guys, this stops you from having to manually do a reset. So a manual reset would be to delete the DAT files. Please never ever delete the reg files, only the DAT files. You then would copy the reg files and paste them into the folder and rename them to DAT. If you do want to see that, I can always do that later, but it is a lot more efficient and there's a lot less that can go wrong if we just use the reset utility. That also goes with the registry. So all of these things you can do manually, or you can do via the reset utility. And you can reset your registry if you think it's a registry issue. You can reset the registration and you can clear companies. And once you've done that, you can see if it works. Now, unfortunately, you may need to also do the manual option. So in the registry, guys, this is obviously your Windows registry. It's something that you want to be very careful about going into. You don't just want to remove keys. If you remove the wrong keys, this could obviously alter the workings of your Windows, which may require an IT to come in and format your machine. But basically, the two keys that we normally work in are H key current user and H key local machine. You then select software, VB and VBA program settings, and then you can see that you've got your different Pastel versions. You can go in here, and if we look at these options, guys, we can see that in these options, we are referring to specific keys. So this is normally where your companies are. And this will tell you, okay, this is your company and it has certain defaults and settings in it. You can either delete that company key or you can remove the entire key. The moment you open Pastel again, so if in this case I would open 18 and I would establish that connection to the company, it will re-add the key here. So please don't alter the keys, please rather delete them. It is safer, and make sure you're deleting the correct keys. That would be if you're having a problem with the company itself. If you're having a problem with Pastel and you need to get rid of the registration, you would go into HKey local machine software. If you're running a 64-bit machine, you're going to go into WoW 6432 node. And then guys, you're going to look for Softline. We'll see here, if we click on this, we can see that it's giving us our registration. Now guys, you can see that my 19 isn't here. Now if I had to close this, and for example, and I should not have done that with my Pastel open, apologies. I go to help, register your package, because basically that's what the reset did. It should open up and I can re-register my Pastel. Once I've re-registered, if we had to go back into the registry, we would see that that registry has been reapplied. So guys, this is the new way of registering. Apparently you need to put in this code. That happens because I'm meant to run client server, I'm running work group, so we're not going to talk about that error today. At the end, if you'd like to talk about it, that's fine. But guys, basically, if I now had to go into my reg edit again, basically, if I go and look there, we can see that that key is now back. So that is telling me I have re-registered this. I've redone the registration. Then for my companies, I would need to re-establish my links, because as we can see, all of those companies that were here before are now missing. So I would need to manage, and because I am the server, I add the companies. You activate the companies on a workstation. You only ever add on the server. And hopefully, guys, in this way, that can resolve the errors that I'm having. Obviously, if the reset doesn't work, you do all of this stuff, even if you manually do it and you're still getting errors, please let us know. But that is the first step, to obviously be able to check all of that and make sure that it's working. So that's what that will do. It'll remove those keys and it will remove access to those keys. So that's when you reset the registry, company paths, and the companies themselves. Reset last used date, as we discussed, resets the date that you last opened Pastel on. Then guys, the one that probably is the biggest would be the Stockfix, because this you run if you've got a problem with your inventory. And you can have a problem with your inventory depending on what reports you're running. So if, for example, you are processing a counter inventory, and when you update the counter inventory, you go and check your quantities and they have not been affected, that would mean that the files themselves, so when you've run through all of this, and I'm just going to do it very, very quickly, because this isn't about doing a stock take, but the moment that you update here, so you've entered all the physical quantities or you've imported them, when you view this report, and guys, when you view this report, if you have in fact made changes, and I'm just going to make some changes very, very quickly. Let's put that to 160, 300, and let's do 10. So guys, I'm not going to do a lot here. If you come to update any different, if you go to print account variance report, and I can almost guarantee you, if you don't see any theoretical and physical values, it's not going to update. So if we run this report, and guys, you don't see the physical quantities, it's just telling you theoretical, there's no variance, no unit cost, no difference. It's not going to update anything because it actually hasn't registered that you've entered physical items. This in itself, you might as well rather say, you know, close the screen and actually go clear the snapshot and run a Stockfix anyway, then try to update it. However, if you do update it, there's a very good chance that you're not going to see any differences. So guys, I'm not going to update that per se, but basically what I'm talking about is if you come here and you view it for that period, you don't see the changes. You don't see 160 and stuff. That is the one example. The other is if, for example, you go edit inventory item file and you are looking at, sorry guys, I'm just waiting for it to come up, the activity. And you look at this activity and you click on it and this does not match up at all. Either something's missing here or it's got a totally different value. So the activity and the history are not tying up. That would be another time that you would run it. The other time is if, for example, it says unposted, but it's not just filtering down, it's got a different value here, and it's not the same as your quantity on hand. That would be another reason. So when your quantities are inaccurate, that is where you want to close Pastel. And guys, the first thing that you want to do is you actually want to rebuild. And I'm not sure if this is going to be my Express or my partner. Awesome. One, please make sure that you have a backup. And then guys, you're going to go into the version of Pastel you're using, Pastel 19 for partner stage 50C. Express would say Express, and then it's followed by the version. So whatever version it is. Guys, if you have multiple versions installed, you can just go and literally tell it to change. So for example, if I actually needed Express here, I can in fact go into my Express folder. The rebuild utility is the rebuild utility. It's not, if it's partner, it has to be partner. If it's Express, it has to be Express. It's just the folder that it's going to look in. So basically, you want to open the correct folder, go into the company, and then guys, you want to search for your inventory files. So the first files that we're looking for are ACCP. So we're looking for ACCPRD. This is my inventory master file, and then my inventory quantity file. I want to rebuild both of those. Then we're actually going to go all the way down to S, and we're looking for ACC, STKLK, ACC, STKPS, and ACC, STKST. These are my stock link file and my multi-store transaction files. So guys, it's very important that we rebuild those 5 files. You then click on rebuild and it should rebuild them accordingly. Once we've rebuilt them, you are then going to navigate to the Pastel root file, whether it is Pastel and the version or Express and the version. And we are going to look for Stockfix or Fix STK and the version. You're going to open that up and you are going to browse for the company. So guys, you're going to look through and you will double click on the company that you want to rebuild it, and you're going to say fixed quantity. Now, if you're on a workstation, guys, I would strongly advise that you rather do this on the server. If you can't, you can do it over the map drive. But again, when you're doing things like this over the network, it can lead to data corruption. So it's better to rather do this on the server if you can, or move the company to your C drive, do it on your C drive, tell everyone not to do anything and move it back. When you get told that an error report has been created, guys, please don't just click on OK and fix the quantities, because that's not really going to help you. Basically, if you do this, you don't know what errors there were. And I know that I did do it, but I know that my report's going to be blank anyway. Basically, guys, what you want to do, and it's a text file, is you want to search for star.txt, and you actually want to open this file. And hopefully what you will see is a lot of information here telling you that either the item exists and you don't have history, and this is one of the reasons that you don't want to just, okay, there's a Stockfix error file, but I'm just going to run this. Because guys, if you get told that there's an item that does not exist that has history, that might be an item that you need. It's important to see that. Hopefully it gives you the inventory code, and then you can choose, do I want to create this item or don't I? If you don't, you can just run the Stockfix. If you do want to create it, you have to exit the Stockfix, go in and create the items, and then redo the whole Stockfix. It should also tell you that your totaling stores are incorrect. Now guys, what running the Stockfix actually does is it makes the history, or it makes the activity the same as the history. And another reason that the activity and the history may not tie up is if you delete history. So guys, what I'm talking about is if you are in Pastel and you have a company that you've run for many years, even if you've said, you've run the year end and you've said create new company called, if you've done that 10 times, that company has 10 years worth of history in it. So the company is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And in the webinar that I did, and I need to actually untick that. Sorry, guys. I'll fix that up later. In the webinar that I did called Data Management, we did speak about this, and we spoke about sometimes it is important to delete the history and clear files. But one of the things with deleting history, especially if you're deleting inventory history, it's going to tell you that your activity and your history are not going to add up anymore. And your history always pulls from your history headers and your history lines. When you remove those history headers and those history lines, you're going to view the history and it's going to give you a value, but your activity is going to see something else because your activity was not touched when you deleted those history headers and history lines. So guys, if you are going to delete history, my advice to you is delete the history, but do it around year end. Delete the history, then do your stock, then run a Stockfix and then do your stock take, because your activity is probably more accurate than your history right now because you deleted history headers and history lines. So you want them to be the same. If you don't want to keep looking at different reports, you run the Stockfix to make them the same, but then you do a stock take. And the reason that you do a stock take or counter inventory is to know that your theoretical values are 100% correct to your physical values. So that going forward, you don't have to go, wait, my activity and my history don't tie up. Is there a problem, or is this because I deleted history? So that's really important. But guys, to go back to it, so you would check that report and then you would come and you would then say, yeah, actually, I'm happy to do this. Either you're going to go create those items if you get told that you have missing items, or you're going to tell it to just continue. And it will then obviously run through everything and it will make sure that it fixes everything. Now guys, once you've already done this the first time, you need to do it for a second time. And the reason you run the Stockfix twice is to make sure that that error report is blank the second time, because you don't want to check the report, go, okay, yeah, I know what the report looks like, and go, fix the quantities, continue, and then, just assume everything's fixed. You run it again to make sure that that report is in fact blank. If the report's blank, you can say continue, it's not going to do anything, or you can just say cancel, because, okay, cool, then no more errors on that report. We've had it before where we've run it and it's come back a second time with different errors. And guys, it's really important to make sure that that TXT file is blank. Once it's blank, the Stockfix has done its job, and then you can go and check your reports and make sure that they are in fact correct. So guys, that is basically the reset and the Stockfix and what they're used for. Does anyone have any questions on that? Does anyone have questions around anything that I explained to you? I do realize this was quite a quick demonstration, by the way. But please let me know if you have any questions. Please use the question icon and type your questions through to me, and I will happily address those. Guys, if you don't have any questions right now, specifically around the reset and the Stockfix, I'm not going to answer them until I've answered all of those. Then I will come back to your questions that are on a different topic, or maybe something that I said around that. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes just to type your questions through. In the meantime, guys, those of you that attended my last webinar before this one, thank you for attending it. Again, my apologies that I was so sick. Hopefully you learned something from it. Guys, I'm probably just going to re-record that because it sounded really bad and a lot of stuff didn't want to work, and that was on the Export 32, and then I will upload it for you. So if you did get the recording and you were like, this isn't really useful, I totally get that. I will go and create it again. I will put it on YouTube and I will link it in Sage City like I do, so that you can go and view it. That should be up within, I would say, either the end of this week or the end of next week. That should be done. Guys, and where I'm referring to on Sage City is if we go to sagecity.com, just because I know searching through YouTube, like to find the correct videos, especially because there are about 300 in that playlist right now, can be really difficult. On this link here about the free topic webinars, if it's got an underline, it means that it's linked to a YouTube video. So basically what I will do is I will hyperlink it here, and then from here you will be able to go and click on it and watch that YouTube video. So I'm not going to use the one that I did 2 weeks ago, because as I said, guys, I was really sick. I couldn't breathe properly and a lot of stuff didn't want to work. So I explained how it worked and hopefully you got something out of it, but I'll link it there. And obviously I see this one's missing, so I'll make sure that's up as well. And that basically means that we do have those videos. Unfortunately, on this date, this did not record. So guys, I don't have that, but again, we can also look at possibly redoing this in the future. So guys, I do see that a question or two have come through. Okay, so guys, it's not actually linked to the reset or the Stockfix, but because I don't see any other questions, I'm going to answer this quick. So basically what the attendee has said is that they have several clients who use remote desktop. And so unfortunately, when each of the users log into RDP, they see the full list of companies. And is there any way to restrict the companies that the users see in the open dialog? I think because they're using RDP, to my knowledge, there's actually not. But I do know that we've logged it as a suggestion, like even for people who use the server, that instead of them having this huge list of companies, you can specify which companies a user can see, as even as an extra set of security. So I know that's a suggestion, but I think that it's probably something unique to RDP and remote desktop, that they have access to that, because technically the user is interfacing with the server. And so because they're interfacing with the server, we can't have that screen not show everything at this point. So I think it's an RDP specific issue. You could try to use the reg keys. I've never tried. So if you feel comfortable going into the reg key and removing those keys for the specific user on Windows, you could try that, because that is unique to the user. I don't know if it will work though. I've personally never tried it. If it does, could I ask that you email me and let me know if you are prepared to be the pioneer for that? I haven't tried, and I'm prepared to set up a test environment and try if you'd prefer that, but I can't guarantee that'll work. I'm not sure. In essence, it probably should, but I'm not sure if it would. Let me know which way would suit you, if you'd prefer me to set up a test environment and try, or if you would prefer to pioneer it, and just let me know. Okay. Okay, awesome. So yeah, so guys, this is where you can always go if you want to find, you know, even if there are webinars that you've missed. So this is last year's webinars that I ran, and then obviously this year. Guys, you can come here, you can click on them, and then you can watch those webinars if it helps. Then guys, while I wait, if there are any other questions, I have something to ask you all. So when COVID hit in 2020, we launched something called Q&A Live. And initially in level 5, it did really well. But then as we came out of levels, it started doing really, really badly. And Q&A Live was basically an all-day live webinar. So it was exactly this, what you're sitting in right now. But instead of me doing training and like, hey guys, we're talking about this feature, let's do this. Basically, it was a support channel. So you would be in a session like this, over 3,000 people can join at the same time. And it would be, you can come into the session and instead of waiting for chat or waiting for email, you could literally type a question through to me and go, or whoever's running the session, hi, I'm getting an error code 20, can you help me? And they would send you a response immediately and go, hey, here's a YouTube video, or here is a link to the KB article. And now, guys, I know some of you might be going, what's the point of that then? I could just go find that. Guys, the point of that is you can stay in the session while you try that article or try the YouTube video. If it doesn't work while you're in that session, you go, you do what you need to, you come back, and normally it was me running it, or it was a gentleman called Lloyd. You basically would go, hey Joe, I tried the steps here and it didn't work, or hey, I got to this part and it doesn't make sense. And then at that point, we can help you. Or you would ask a question and we would literally demo the solution through to you. Now, guys, some people might be like, hey, why didn't you just connect remotely and fix the problem? Yeah, we can do that, but many of you would not be comfortable sharing your screen with 10, 20, 30, 100, 200 people, however many are in the session. So that's why we didn't. But if anyone is comfortable doing that, guys, I'm also happy to log me in and fix the issue. At times, because I did have 2 screens, I would play a video and I would do that. What I want to ask you is that something you guys would be keen we bring back? Because it was meant to be a really awesome channel, additional channel of support, a very quick channel of support, and you were dealing with specialists who could help you then and there. You were in sessions with other people, so it was a group chat, but you could, 1, learn what other people are asking, and 2, you could get your question solved almost immediately. You didn't have to sit and wait on the phone for someone to answer. You didn't have to, like, I would literally say, hey, I've seen your question. I'm just answering someone else. I'll answer it now. You can continue working. And I would come back to you, or I would answer it immediately and go, hey, I've got this question, really good question. This is the answer to it. And I would try to assist. Is that something you guys would be happy to see come back? Because it's something we're talking about, but guys, we can't run it if only 2 people are using it a day, because generally I run it. And that means that as a resource, as a product specialist, I'm taken away from the agents on the floor, and I'm taken away from data investigations and stuff. And then it's a waste of my time, because I'm generally logged in from like 8 until 4 or from 9 until 5. So we need to know if it's something you guys would like to see, or if you feel, you know what, the support channels are good enough. I wouldn't personally use that. Guys, if you could pop me an email, joanne.barnard@sage.com. I'm going to put it in the chat. And let me know your thoughts on this. Or if you have any other thoughts, like, hey, this is something that irritates me with regard to support. This is something that, you know, can you improve on this or can you improve on that? Guys, we're trying to see how best we can service you, how we can make sure that you are getting the best service possible when you do have problems, when you do have issues. And we want to make sure that we make this an experience that you enjoy. Please send me an email, let me know your thoughts, and then we can look around that. If we do start Q&A live again, we are going to market this quite hectically if it's something that people want to see and we think it's worthwhile. And then we'll probably only start it in January 2023 to make sure people understand what it is, because I think a lot of people didn't, and to make sure that all the other stuff, that people understand what it is, that people understand that, hey, you don't have to exit a session to go try something to come back. So guys, let me know what you think. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know if that's something that you think can work, and if you would prefer to use that over, for example, chat, email, and physically calling in, to come in and go, hey Joe, right now I have this problem at 11 past 10 in the morning and I need an answer like now. Let me know. Guys, otherwise I don't see any other questions, so I'm assuming you guys are happy. Are there questions on anything else that I mentioned? Any other problems you guys are having that I could maybe basically do like a Q&A live thing with you where, hey Joe, I've got this problem, could you help me out? I'm happy to answer any questions now. Let me know. Otherwise, guys, if you don't have any questions, that is it for me for this session. My next session, which is basically on the screen, if we go down a bit, will be on tips and tricks around printing and emailing in Pastel. So guys, it's going to basically be a revamp from last year's topic where we, you know, told you how to, for example, fix certain things around emailing and stuff. We're going to like say, hey, look at this, look at that. So it's going to be very similar, but it's just because often that is basically one of the top 10 demand drivers where people phone in, emailing isn't working, or this error keeps happening, how can we avoid this? So that we are doing on the 24th of August. And then guys, you can see for the rest of the year what we've got. We've got how to use the chat function and other platforms. So basically showing you, hey, this is how the stuff works. These are other platforms that we have. Are you aware of them? Unknown features. So this is like graphs, company from backup, the GL manager, Pastel integration, and Sage capture. So things that are there that are a little bit obscure that you don't know about, overview on scheduled invoicing, system requirements and compatibility. So guys, I've added that in there because recently we've had a lot of people complaining about certain requirements and compatibilities and going, but it did work. And I really want to explain the nuance of system requirements and compatibility and how a tech company deals with that, just so you guys understand. Price list overview, how to set up company overdue interest, and then guys, on the 7th of December, it's basically similar to Q&A. On the 7th of December, you can literally pop in and ask whatever. It's going to be an open webinar. I might look at what's trending at that point and go, hey guys, this is what's happening in support. This is what I'm seeing. These are things you need to be aware of. But guys, last year, the whole holiday tips and tricks didn't really do well. So I thought I'd rather have it be open and you can kind of be like, hey, I've always wondered about this. Can you let me know? Hopefully the answer will be yes, and it's not something I would have to prep for. So yeah, otherwise, guys, I hope that I see you at future sessions. Please remember that I also do run Sage Business Cloud Accounting. So what used to be Sage 1 webinars, topic webinars, they are pretty basic, but I am running those as well. I think that I'm running one next week, Tuesday. So if you're interested in that, please go on to Sage City. But in Sage City, please rather go to Sage Accounting. And I will need to obviously go and add that because it is somewhere down on these pages, which I don't like. Guys, you can sign up here. I'll try to reprioritize this. so that it actually shows on the first page. But guys, you can go sign up for those. Otherwise, please remember that we do have YouTube. And on top of YouTube, we have the knowledge base for you guys, as well as all of our helpful and useful infographics. Otherwise, guys, that is it for me. I hope that you have an amazing day further. And I will see you at hopefully some of the other webinars and on some of the other channels. Please send me your email if you're interested in Q&A live or whatever your feedback is on that. And have an amazing weekend. Ciao, ciao for now, guys. Bye-bye.